Hello, welcome back to the Series 4 of Loose Links. Thank you for letting us keep you entertained this Tuesday evening. We've got a jam-packed January, and a new year means a new series. So we're going to start all over again with lots of conversations, guests, and chat, maybe just round the corner from you. All that on today's show. Hello, welcome to the show. Alongside me and keeping your Tuesday night jolly, Nicholas James, is Rachel Penny.
Hiya.
Jason Lambert.
Hi.
And he's back, Chris Clark.
Hello!
As we talk about this evening, we shine a light on number 10, and we have that discussion that everybody's talking about the parties. But is it also a real insult to the NHS that are still struggling? People waiting up to 48 hours to be admitted to hospital. We also discuss a famous superstore that Rachel could not say yesterday, a famous superstore that are talking about domestic abuse, but that gets us talking about online dating and even our horror stories. There's quite a bit to tell you on that. And we finish on the subject of dry January. But is it really an insult to people that have real needs with alcohol? All that and a lot more on this week's Loose Links. Hi, panel!
Hello.
Hello, welcome to 2022.
No.
We've made it to Series 4. How incredible is this? Let's just quickly catch up with each other a little bit. Chris, did you have a good Christmas?
Beautiful, yeah, but it went far too quickly.
And it always does, doesn't it? What did you get up to much? Did you have loads of family round, or was it?
It's always chaos here. I've got 5 kids, haven't I? So yeah, we kept busy. I did lots of cooking, lots of eating. I would say the camera adds £10 or whatever they say, but actually no, that was just Christmas.
I had an unfortunate Christmas because Rachel Penny passed on to me COVID.
Oh.
You got it first, Nick. You got it first.
So me and Rachel shared COVID together over Christmas. What about you, Jason? Did you go up to very much over Christmas, New Year?
Christmas, I came home to my family and went back to church again for proper services with carols. And then New Year, I ended up spending alone because my husband caught COVID and I shipped him off back to his house so that I didn't catch it.
Oh, we start on such a cheery note, don't we? It's so good, so good to be back, people. But let's get on with the show then. What has been in Hot Topics this week has been Downing Street has apologised to Buckingham Palace for 2 staff parties in number 10, the night before Prince Philip's funeral. The gathering, first report by the Telegraph, took place on the 16th of April 2021 and went on until the early hours. The PM spokesman said it was deeply regrettable that this took place at a time of national mourning. Boris Johnson was not at the party, but he faces questions over alleged COVID rule breaking at number 10. Oh, now this has been hot everywhere, not just in Lincolnshire, but it's been hot everywhere. Chris, let's go to you first. Do you think we have lost faith in our government and we now are not listening to what they are saying?
Did we have any to begin with? Yes, I think for the people that did have faith, I can't imagine why they would have any more. And I've heard a lot of people talking about how they've had enough of it all because, you keep getting this old saying, it's one rule for them and it's one rule for us. I've heard that so many times just recently because it's true. It does seem to be the way, doesn't it? So I think, people are kind of going, oh, blow this. If they can't even stick to their own rules, I'm not bothering.
Mm-hmm. He says that Boris says he goes by the science, and now if he goes by the science, I suppose I've always liked Bojo, but it falls into the hands. It falls into the thinking of the anti-vaxxers, doesn't it? If he's not doing it, they think to themselves, well, the science is probably wrong.
Yeah.
Go on, Jason. Go on. Sorry.
It's not just that two parties, though, is it? It's the 20th of April last year. It's the 18th of January. It's the 17th of January. It's the 15th of December. 18th of
And probably more.
It's all the parties that happened as well. I mean, yes, those two were bad because of the timing of them, but the rest of them, why? I mean, somebody was saying the other day that on the 20th of April party he had, the lady he met in Downing Street 4 days later was talking about her father who had died. She actually had his death certificate signed on the 20th of April when he died, the day they were having a bring your own booze party in Downing Street. And then he met her and said how sad he was for her. So
I just think we're on a very scary line, though, because I completely agree. And I will go into it a little bit further. I've had first-hand experience of being on a ward with COVID, and I've watched people really suffer, and not have a chance for a family member just to hold their hand and say, "I'm here," which makes me kind of emotional. But the thing is, we're talking about a man here that is supposed to be ruling the country. Well, in my eyes, he can't even rule his own bloody team, let alone a country. He can't seem to. It seems to, and I don't know about anybody else, but I can't stand listening to him on the telly anymore because I just think you've lost that respect.
I don't watch him ever. I don't watch the news anymore. It's one of those things where he's. I mean, not many people do like those in power, do they? Really, truly. But he's so out of touch with the people. Typical flipping Etonian, out of touch elitist who is, one rule for him and another rule for everyone else.
And how can he stand in front of a camera and say?
He won't lose. He'll send the civil servants. He'll pass the civil servants under the bus. He will not lose his own job. I mean, they were saying Mayla Strachan, she was the only person who had so far gone, and she resigned when she was laughing about it at the press conference. Then the other civil servant, he went because he was found to be laughing about it or found to be organising things. He went. So if they can go because they broke the rules, why shouldn't he go?
That was the question.
The thing about it is another thing, though, isn't it? You just, as a human being, knowing all that's going on outside, you wouldn't laugh. You just wouldn't laugh. It's not. It's a dire situation. The whole world is in. It's quite shameful. That is.
But what do we do now, though, guys? If we're not, and I completely agree with you. I completely agree that I'm not listening to Boris anymore. But now, who's leading us? Are we all just going to live our separate ways in our own houses, praying to God that we don't catch COVID and we just go out and we just socialise and we start back to normality the way we want to start back to normality? Or do we have to give Boris another chance? Do we have to stand by and hope that he will change and things will change?
We have got to learn to live with it. Because it's
people are doing what they want to now anyway.
Yeah.
They're taking a stand against everything and they're doing what they want because they've had 2 years of this now and nothing's working what the government says. So people are just taking it into their own hands and being strong and quite a lot defiant.
I've had months of being ill with long COVID. I got COVID the Christmas before last, and I'm only just coming out the other end of the long COVID symptoms. And, so I realise how serious it is. But at the same time, I'm totally with you on that one. I think after 2 years of this and then it being rubbed in our face the Tories. We need to just kind of learn to live with it. We've had our 2 jabs. Some people have had their 3 jabs. I was supposed to the other day and forgot. Whoops. But we have to carry on for our mental health, if nothing else. I think there's a huge danger of people being ill through poor mental health, as well as being ill through COVID, and that has to be taken into account.
Yeah, I mean, I went back to my choir in Wednesday, in September, and I did 3 concerts at Christmas with public in, on the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th of December. We did everything we could to make it COVID secure, with sanitizer, and everybody had to be jabbed, and everybody had to do a lateral flow before the concert. We did everything we possibly could with doors open and ventilation, but you've just got to learn to live with it. I mean, as soon as Omicron started, I wondered whether or not we'd have to stop where we were. But we've gone back, and from the 5th of January, we've been rehearsing every Wednesday again. And I don't wear a mask when I'm rehearsing with them. And I'm in the clinically extremely vulnerable, but I make sure I take precautions.
Yeah.
You're going to have to live with it.
Thing is, Nick and I, Nick took a lateral flow test before he came to see me on Christmas Day, and I took a lateral flow, were both negative, and then Nick found that he was COVID on Boxing Day. I found out I was COVID on the following day, and Nick was more poorly than I was because I'd had my 3 jabs, and I had to go out into hospital and have an infusion. I had to have a PCR test and then an infusion, but that was a trial drug, and so we've all had different situations. Long COVID, ill in the hospital, infusion, and hopefully you, Jason, you're all right after having your 3 jabs. But it's weighing the cost of what you're going to possibly get and what you're not going to get and what you can sail through, and nobody knows. So you see, you look towards the government, who seems to know what they're talking about. With the scientists, like Bojo says, he goes by the science. Now, if he's not doing this, then everything that we have done, we've just like been guinea pigs for him, because I feel a bit let down, cheated now, because I might not have had to have all that treatment if he's but there are some seriously ill people that have had COVID. They are still in hospital for months and months and months, and unfortunately so many millions have died. So it's a difficult situation to be in, and I really don't think that any other politician could have made a better choice, because they're all a bunch of wallies at the moment in any party.
Can I say, I'm going to jump in there because I slightly disagree.
Yeah.
I slightly disagree in the fact of that. I completely agree with you about I don't think any other politician could do it right, do it better. Boris Johnson is not God. He doesn't know what's going to happen next. But in the same respect, I think other politicians would have set rules and kept them, and not broken them, and not done what the bloody hell Boris Johnson wanted to do. I think with other MPs in, there wouldn't be parties. There wouldn't be gatherings outside in there. I believe that if other MPs were stood up there and they stated a rule, that they would have kept to that rule. Now, we don't know that for certain, but it's almost like Boris is laughing in our face. Well, you've got to have one person in the garden outside, but I'll have a gathering of 30. I'll have a gathering of 30 with alcohol, with dancing, with all of that. And I slightly disagree on the fact of, I don't think another politician could have done it better.
Well, it's like anything. We don't know either way.
Right, Rachel, what did you say? And then we'll go to Chris.
Well, I really don't. I don't think we know. We don't know if the vaccines work. We don't know whether we would have been just able to sail through it and our own immunity. We don't know if the politicians are right, the scientists are right. Nobody knows one way or the other until we get through this. Probably another 12 months' time. It all tails off.
Surely there's got to be respect there, though. If you're stating, and you're a man of
the
power,
leadership. Yes, there has to be leadership right from the word go.
But
So
he's not doing
all
that,
in the same boat together. No. But I'm saying that maybe other politicians are not going to be any different, because it's gone on for how long? 2 years. And how many politicians have been in the same boat as Boris?
And I get that.
They haven't.
And I completely get that. But what I'm stating,
that doesn't excuse him. That doesn't excuse him.
No, if you are a man of authority and making rules, it's quite simple to keep to those rules. It's not difficult.
We have to.
I think the first thing that really caused the problem was he spent weeks saying there was no party and denying it all.
Lying.
That caused the biggest problem. And then, of course, from there on, they just started digging. And, well, what did he say? We've got to wait for Sue Gray.
Chris, what was you going to say?
I was just being rude, really. I think a monkey could have done a better job.
See, I slightly agree with that. But let's go back on to NHS a little bit, because I'm quite passionate about NHS this week. So Jason, I'm going to open the question to you, really. Jason, with hospitals and A&Es struggling, including in Lincolnshire, leaving people waiting 48 hours to be admitted, do you believe the NHS are being listened to? And do you think the government are laughing in their faces?
Well, yeah, I mean, go back to Bojo, don't you? Stood on his doorstep clapping for the NHS, following day having drinks in the garden.
Yeah.
I mean, that just smacks of hypocrisy, doesn't it? I mean, thanking them for the work they've done, saying how good they were when he was in hospital, and then popping out for a drink in the garden with 30 other people. And they don't listen to the NHS ever. It's underinvestment in the NHS. Staff are on their knees. And 48 hours is wrong. But what do you do when your hospital is cramped full of people with COVID and they're having to make wards where they have normally 3 beds either side? In Norfolk, they've actually put 4 beds in each side. So they've moved them from a 6-bed ward to an 8-bed ward just because they've got no capacity to put them anywhere else.
Are there any wards closed like they used to be, Jason? Do you know?
No.
Or are they just kind of using... Sorry?
No wards are closed in the hospital. Every ward is open and they've got COVID wards, but they just haven't got capacity. I mean, the hospital was only built to see about 1,500 patients in A&E a day, and they're literally at the moment dealing with 2,500 a day. They just cannot cope with the amount of people going in. And the whole COVID thing has just exacerbated the situation to the point where the chief executive last week said, for a limited time, we are moving 6-bed wards to 8 beds. And where the curtains close round a patient, they're having to put screens in between them because they can't use the curtains.
Well, you're not going to get any more nurses and wanting to do the job, are you, with a 1% pay rise and then having it taken off with the pension? You know, it's not what you might call a lucrative job, is it?
Yeah, I
said we'd have 40,000 extra nurses.
Well, I was recently admitted to hospital because of COVID, and I found out that news. I talked about the 1% pay rise, which I think is laughable to the people that have been on the front line, really. And I talked to a nurse about the 1% pay rise, and she says yes. But what the nation don't know is that they've gave us 1% pay rise, but taken 1.5 out of our pension. So we haven't really gained anything from that 1% pay rise that they gave us. And I just think that let's talk about hospital a little bit. Let's go down the hospital route. I'm a bit on the fence about the NHS, if I'm honest, and I will speak out if anybody disagrees with me. Remember, you're the 5th panel member. But I find it really, really frustrating that we are hearing on the news time after time after time Their NHS are running out of beds. They're struggling. We can't admit people. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't do the other. I think I've got huge amounts of respect for nurses, for porters, for healthcare assistants, for admin. Massive respect. The part where I'm having real struggle having respect for is doctors. So when I was there, I was in a COVID ward, and the most rudest people that came to my bed was a doctor. It wasn't because they weren't listening. I felt like I wasn't listened to. I felt like I was just a bed and they just wanted to get me home. So I spent about 5 days altogether in a hospital bed. And at the end of it, I was discharged at 9 o'clock in the morning. And this was Friday. Discharged 9 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't get out of the hospital till 6:30 that night. And so I'm saying to the nurses, why can't go home? Why can't go home? Well, we're waiting for the doctor to come out of editing mode to print off your discharge letter so we can send you home. This mind boggled me. We are struggling for beds to get people in. I'm a healthy man that can now leave that hospital and go home. But I'm there till 6:30 at night waiting to get out, and that's all because of a doctor. This is why people are waiting bloody 48 hours in A&E, because the doctors, yes, I get the busy people, I understand that, but the thing is, if you go onto the edit mode of bloody discharge letter, just finish it off. It'll take all of 5 minutes so you can go and get a new patient on the bed. I don't get it. I don't understand why. It makes sense to me why we're struggling for beds.
They have waiting rooms though. When I've been in hospital before, down the corridor they've got waiting rooms where you do like a discharge lounge.
No, don't
where you get
no more.
They don't have any more. Well, the thing is, these doctors have surgeries, don't they? They have outpatients. They can't just, if they say you've got like 20 people underneath you where you've got to sign them all off. They've got to be careful. They've got to be careful what they do, and if they've got an outpatient surgery as well all morning, and then they've got to go through all these patients that are going to be discharged. It can't be just done like that, because if a mistake happens, then what happens? You know, I can see how things can take time. I've been in hospital many a times myself where it was frustrating to be sat there waiting to go out. But when my mum was in, they did say to me that she couldn't go out one day, and then somebody else said she could, and then the following day they said no, she's going to stay in for another couple of days. Oh, and miraculously somebody said no, she can go now. I said, why? There was a bed waiting outside in the corridor, waiting to sweep that person in, take my mum out. So yes, I can see that they will push the buttons and push it forward if push comes to shove. But I do think they have got an incredible difficult job, the doctors as well, but not half as bad as the nurses.
There's no need to be rude though, Rachel, is there? There's no need
to
no,
you are just to bed. They tend to ignore you. They tend to think they are
absolutely. I can't say the word on the show, but it's not good bedside manner at all.
It seems to be a typical thing, doesn't it, between doctors and nurses, that nurses are the ones that seem to secretly know everything and are secretly a lot more intuitive and a lot more caring, and the doctors just sort of swan in and see you as just another number. I mean, and I'm not saying that every doctor is like that, but it's very typical.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
also they're also they have bank staff of nurses, and it's incredibly hard to get a rapport with patients that are in there for a long time. If you come in and you get the changeover, they don't see that person. They don't see. When my mum was in, she had an allergy to her face, and I said, and luckily enough, I'd taken a picture of the previous day, and I said to this nurse, I said, do you see anything wrong with my mum's face? And she said, no. I said, well, look at this picture that I took yesterday. She said, oh my goodness, yes, there is a difference. It's all swollen up. But you see, if there aren't the permanent nurses like there used to be on certain wards, and they're just using bank staff all the time, which are incredibly useful and important, yes, but there should be like a core of permanent nurses, doctors and nurses in these hospitals. It's all kind of disintegrating before your eyes, and it's a worrying prospect, especially in times like this when we need them the most.
And the thing is, I had personal conversations with nurses as well, and because you get time to chat. Healthcare support workers are putting cameras in you and all of that, and you just get time to chat. And I said, it'd be really interesting. Do you mind if I ask you a question? It'd be really interesting. Did you find when we did the NHS clap outside the front door, did you find that a positive thing? She went, no, I bloody hated it. She said, what's the point of what difference is it going to make in my life? Somebody stood on their doorstep.
I know so many of those people that said that.
And it made me think about it, because I did it. I stood on the doorstep and
I didn't do it
actually,
because I thought it was insulting.
yeah. And do you know
I
a lot of nurses have said that in hospital?
Yeah.
That it's insulting.
I think it was insulting, you know, Boris Johnson on his doorstep clapping when he promised them, you know, absolutely millions from Brexit. You know, it's like,
well, the thing is though, Chris, he was on his bloody doorstep clapping, then going into his back garden for a party.
I know, right?
That's what he was doing. I did want to share something though with you this evening, and I had a first experience in hospital. And I think it's really, really important to talk about it, actually. I had my first, this is completely going off subject, but it's to do with the NHS, and I was very, very supported by them. But I had my first homophobic experience in hospital while having COVID. So to begin with, when I came in and I was on a ward of 4, there was a man next to me, 99 years old. And all you could do was, all they were doing was keeping him comfortable. And it was heartbreaking. It was really, really heartbreaking watching him disintegrate. But he got that poorly that he was moved to a side ward. So it had an opportunity to bring somebody else in. Now, this man was 83 years old. Very, very jolly. I'm not going to mention his name because that's unfair, but very, very jolly. Came up to me, hello, nice to meet you, la-da-da, lovely to meet you, this, that and the other. Chatted either side and stuff like that. And one night I had my headphones in, watching the telly. That's extraordinary to buy. But watching the telly, and I heard him on the phone to his wife say, I'm in a bay with 3 other men. The young one with the beard, and that's when I pulled down the headphones, because I thought, what are you going to say? Young one with the beard with no hair is as queer as F-U-C-K, a dirty little, and should be put down.
Wow. Jeez.
His words right next to me.
Wow.
Right next to me. So I felt uncomfortable all night. And the night staff, I would say that night, was not very approachable. So I didn't speak to anybody, but I sort of then slept with one eye open, because I was just a bit like, is he going to come over? Is he going to hit me? I don't know what's going to happen. And I spoke to the staff the next day, and he was being discharged and I was being discharged. And it's a criminal offence. And I said, actually, I don't want to go any further. It was just conversation. It's not like he tried to hit me. I don't want to take it any further. But I'm telling you because I need to make you aware. And this is my argument, is loads of people out there these days, I am going to shoot you down now. Loads of people out there these days are saying the LGBTQ community need to shut up now. They've got to a point in their lives where they're accepted, where it's this, that, and the other. Well, I'm sorry, you're wrong, because we still have people like that 83.
It's a long way to go, unfortunately.
Yeah, that 83-year-old man decided, and I've had close people, not my very close people, but closest people say to me, well, it's a generational thing. Well, no. I'm not. why is that an excuse to let somebody speak to you?
It's not.
Like they want. Do you still think we still have this battle? Do you think this battle is still there, and it's still a very, very long way off from being calm and everybody? Because I spoke to a friend the other day, and they said until two gay people or two lesbians or whatever can walk down the street hand in hand without a shadow of fear or worry, will be the day that everywhere is accepted. And I'm sorry, I'm going to shoot down those people that say you are accepted now. Well, actually, you can go some places in the UK where we still fear to do that. So that is not acceptance to me. Do you guys agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, and not just, it's not just the older generation, sadly, because you mentioned there, oh, it's just a generational thing. And that's not an excuse anyway, like you say, but it's not just older people that have that attitude. I've heard this same thing said so many times. Oh, I don't care what you get up to. I just don't need it shoved in my face. And I kind of think, well, what do you mean by that? You know, oh, I don't need to see two gay people holding hands or kissing in public. It's like, well, would you bat an eyelid if they were straight?
Mm.
You know,
it's like when they say on telly, when they go, oh, I don't want to see it on TV screens, but you're happy to watch a man and woman have sex on a drama. Do you know what I mean? I just don't, that's okay and that's acceptable to watch, but if it's two of the same sex, it's not acceptable to watch.
It's ridiculous.
And that's why I get
it's definitely not generational, because quite honestly, a man talking like that at that age, that I wouldn't have thought that generation would have even spoken like that.
No.
But there's been homosexuality in that man's younger era, you know, younger age. It's not just a new thing, is it? It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And for him to talk like that, he should have been. It doesn't matter what age they are. He should have been brought to. It should have been mentioned. But the thing is, it's all right saying that after the fact, because you were shocked. You never expected to be in an environment like that and be spoken to or spoken about like that from a man of that age. But I think that's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. And I'd have liked to have had a word in his shell, like, you know, slightly to one side, make him realise that what he said that was heard. Because I shouldn't think for a minute he thought you knew what he'd said.
No.
I'd have embarrassed him.
And people really, Jason, I really want you to join in, because actually we had a really good conversation about this yesterday. But people moan about soaps and soap life and how soaps are boring and stuff like that. At the moment, I am shouting and praising EastEnders at the moment. EastEnders are doing a storyline on a gay couple that walked hand in hand through Albert Square, and it's the Ben and Callum story, and Callum got beaten up. So Ben now has come out as that he's lived his life in fear, that he's now scared of walking through Albert Square. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to do public displays of affection. We're not going to hold hands. We're going to keep it very private behind closed doors. Well, to me, that's shining a light on what a lot of people are doing around the world. And actually, it's almost like we get over this big thing of coming out the closet, of saying to people what we actually are, and this is me, I can't keep it a secret any longer. But I feel 83-year-old men are pushing us right back in that closet again and going, this is where you belong, and shut the door. And I think EastEnders are really shining the light on that. Do you agree, Jason?
Yeah, it's difficult because I will not do public displays of affection with my husband. There is only certain places I'll do it, which is probably Soho in London and Manchester Gay Village, Canal Street. Otherwise, we don't hold hands. We don't kiss in public. You just don't feel comfortable doing it, because you know people will make an issue or will have something to say or will make a comment, and you just don't want to kick off an argument And yes, soaps can make an issue about it, and they can try and say something, but does it actually resonate with the general population?
I suppose we've got to try something though, haven't we? I suppose we've got to go down the road somewhere of making people aware, keeping it, because people say all the time now, don't they? Why do you need an LGBT pride? Why do you need to make it such a public thing? Well, actually, you make your life public. You get married to a husband, you have children, your life is public. So why can't our lives be public? And I really, really struggle with that. But
can I ask you, Nick? Ask you a question.
Yes.
If you had your time again, would you have approached that gentleman, that chap? Would you approach him if it happened again? Then would you approach him?
In a different situation, yes. The thing that stopped me was people were dying on that ward, and people were taking their last breaths. And
there are ways of doing it, though, aren't there? There are ways. But he had the audacity and the unkind words ready to say when all that was happening around him. There's ways and means of doing it, because I'm not saying you're wrong, because I wasn't in that situation. It would be shocking to me, and it would probably floored me that somebody could say another human being could say that about another human being. But we all have to take a stand towards people like that. Otherwise, you don't go forward, do you? If I was visiting you and I'd heard him say that, I would have set about him. I really would. But then again, I'm not in your position. He wouldn't have been saying it about me, so I don't know. It
wasn't that I didn't feel comfortable in doing it. It wasn't that. What really played heavy. I'm a people person, and what really played heavy on my mind is, what if somebody was taking their last breath in those couple of seconds, where nurses were around me, going, "Can you please just take a seat?" Because I don't think I would have. "Oh, hello, it's nice to meet you. My name's Nick." I think I would have come across as, "Excuse me, I've just heard what you've said. I've just heard exactly what you've said." And then it'd be kind of confrontational. And I just thought, actually, people are dying here. This isn't the place.
Yeah, well, I can understand that. But the way your luck's been, you've been run over just before Christmas. You could have gone out. You could have gone out to that hospital. That could have been your last time.
I believe I'm telling me something Aquarius.
It could have been the last thing you'd heard, and that wouldn't have been very pleasant either, would it?
No, but let's leave it there. Have your say on this.
Watching.
He wouldn't have been talking about it now, though, Rachel, would he?
No, I wouldn't. Have your say. Remember, you are the fifth panel member out there. Do you think we've covered quite a lot in one topic, really? Do you think the LGBT community still have that push because of incidents like that I went through? Also, do you think Boris is laughing at the NHS and the NHS are struggling? And do you believe that doctors are rude and should be doing more? Have your say. Remember, you're the fifth panel member out there. There's many ways you can contact us. Oh, it's so good to be back. There's many ways you can contact us. Facebook page, group, website, www.looselinks.co.uk, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, or looselinks@gmail.com. Make sure you get in touch. Polls will be put up this week, so make sure you have your say as well as ours. Right, moving on. Today, go on.
Polls are back.
Polls are back. Polls, of course, they're back. Can't wait. Today marks a year since Boost launched the Ask Auntie scheme in partnership with the Home Office. To mark this occasion, Home Secretary visited Boots' store at Piccadilly Circus to speak to the pharmacists about how they've been able to help victims about domestic abuse access viral support through the scheme. This got me thinking about online dating and meeting new people. So, Jason, let's go to you first. If you were single and dating with meeting someone new, do you think it's important to get background information before choosing them as your next lover?
Yes and no, depending on how you were meeting them.
Okay.
Them online, I knew nothing about them, then yes, I suppose you would in this day and age, because there is so much on the news and so much happens and so many TV programs speak about it that I think I probably would want to know something about them. But I would also want to know if I could ask them about themselves.
That's putting trust straight away. What do you think, Chris? If you were a single man, would you delve into the online dating world? Is he there? Have we lost him?
It looks a bit vacant.
Or he may come back and he's there. He's
Apologies.
there.
Yeah.
What do you think about the online dating world? If you were a single man, would you step into that pool?
It's possible. I'm quite a sociable person, so it wouldn't be something that I'd feel was 100% necessary. But at the same time, you know, it's good to keep your options open, isn't it? Have as many options as possible.
What about you, Rachel? Have you ever delved into the online world?
Oh, give over. You only have me on here for the token oldie, don't you, really? But
Rachel wouldn't
no,
go on the online world.
I wouldn't let
Hold on, there's a website called greyrinse.com. I could pass it on to you.
Right, that's the straw that broke the camel's back, Nick. I was going to exit stage left ages ago. I'm right. I'm never filling in again. No, I think, quite honestly, being serious, that I think, I don't know, I've never frequented a dating site. You don't look shocked, do you? But the thing is, I think anywhere should the criminal side of somebody's nature should be flagged up if there was such a, you know, is there that already? I don't know. You have to have, if you do anything, any job, you have to make sure that you're safe with children, no criminal record or anything like that. And also, even if you go in and get a mortgage, you have to have a credit report, credit score. So I think this is quite, in light of what can happen with people, you know, just walking home from a date. You've got to be careful who you're walking home with. And I do think there has to be some sort of register. I would have thought anyway, for everyone to be safe.
That has got me
thinking. You look like I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, that has got me thinking, and it'd be good to have your guys' opinions. So in 2012, as you know, as I've said many times, I was in a physical abusive relationship, which took me about 8 years to get over. But I still have trauma dreams. I still have all of that, flashbacks, all of that still happen. And I think I've now accepted that that's going to be part of me for the rest of my life. But when I compare the two relationships that I've had, the second relationship that I had, he never touched me. He never physically touched me, but mentally, he destroyed me. Absolutely destroyed me to the hill, used every power that he had possible and destroyed me. If I went in to a local authority or a police station or anything like that, there are no laws set at this present moment for mental abuse. There is absolutely nothing. And I think these predators that go from relationship to relationship to relationship, doing it over and over again, feel that they're untouchable, because actually there's nothing there. He has got to physically hurt me, physically attack me for the police to be involved. Now, do you think that should change? Do you think that we should have a law where we're looking at all types of abuse, that any type of abuse. And I know there's proving it because anybody can go in and say, oh, by the way, they've done so and so. And sometimes people can tell lies. I'm not that. But do you think that we need to be covering all areas of abuse and people should be prosecuted for any type of abuse?
Well, yes, but like you said, how on earth do you prove that? Because quite often in a relationship, that emotional, mental abuse that somebody suffers is done so well behind closed doors that you never really know what's going on between those people unless you. It's very difficult, I think. But you're right. Yeah, I mean, if there was a way to somehow order it and and make it as serious as physical abuse is in legal terms, then yeah.
What do you think, Rach? Do you think that when it comes to the criminal justice system that we need to be looking at the bigger picture as well as the smaller?
Well, it's recognised, isn't it? This kind of mental abuse, coercive control, and things like this. It is recognised. So even if it's not something you can prosecute, I'm not too sure whether you can do, but if it's not something you can prosecute, you can still put it down, document it down on somebody's file, or even, now I suppose I was just thinking something in like it probably sounds very flippant what I'm going to say, but like a review of somebody. If somebody had a real problem with somebody on a site, they should be able to put that in somewhere and document it somewhere, because that would be helpful for them.
And I agree with that, because with physical abuse, there's something called now Clare's Law, where you can go into a police station and access, say, a person's name and go, I just want to know if this person has been in any kind of abuse. And there's a way of finding out stuff. Like I'm quoting a lot of TV programs this week, but I had the pleasure when I was poorly of watching, which I'd never usually watch, 24 Hours in Police Custody, and it was about this man that had killed an 11-year-old baby by slamming the baby on the side. Now they couldn't find out if he was violent or if he was mentally controlling, and they got a glimpse of his then girlfriend that he was controlling her and mentally controlling her. Now, every time they interviewed her, I completely got her, because I was in exactly the same position, and I've said this to my best friend many of times. When I was in the relationship 12 years ago, longer than 12 years ago, 2012, when I was in the relationship with him, if my best friend had come round and gone, I've heard you're hitting my best friend, I don't know if I would have backed him up or backed up my husband. So I could understand completely when they were filming her and she was defending him. Because it's not till you come out of it that you realise, actually, that wasn't the way I was supposed to be treated. But what they did was went back on exes. So went back to his ex and the ex before that. And because they were out of it, they were able to tell their story. I think we need to be doing this when somebody comes into a police station saying, I believe he's mentally controlling somebody, or I've been mentally controlled, or whatever, because there's not a lot out there for support. Yes, they could note down, but I believe that actually they should be put on record. So if people do go into a police station and say, I just want to find out about this person, I just want to know if there's any background, mentally, there's nothing there. They can tell them physically if they're physically beating them up, but mentally, there's nothing there. Jason, do you think that should change?
It's very difficult with the mental control, because when you're in that relationship, you don't recognize it's happening, and it would take an awful lot for you to actually have the the knowledge of what's going on to you to actually report it in the first place. Because it's very much like abusive relationships. People don't want to report it because they're in the middle of it, and they find it difficult to actually get out to actually report it. I know the person you're talking about, and we both went through it with the same person.
We've both got the same ex, guys. If you haven't clicked on,
Well, I think, yeah, I've got that.
we've both got the same ex.
And
Thing is, you don't go into a relationship, do you, thinking that you want to check up on somebody? You know, boy meets girl, or girl meets girl, boy meets boy, and you go into a relationship because you've struck a chord with somebody, got that affinity with them, and then you think to yourself, I'll just go and check whether he's a murdering so-and-so, or he's going to beat me up, or he's going to do this, that, and the other. You don't do that, do you? You must have an inkling first of all.
I did tell Nick.
Yeah, we did tell Nick. We won't go down that road though. But I think there's something.
But again, that's the point, isn't it, Nick? I said about it, but you said no. It's different. It's not the same.
But it's like that, isn't it? It's any relationship really. For ages, you're like that, aren't you? You don't care what other people say. The nearest and people around you, you just want that feeling of love that you've been looking for. And my word, I can't get enough of this person. That we can almost get lost very quickly in what kind of relationship it is. But tell us if you think out there that a superstore is helping people with domestic abuse. Do you think it really is a place where you would walk in and say, I need help because I'm getting hurt? Do you think the system needs to look at all kinds of abuse, not just physical, but all kinds of abuse that you can go through? And tell us if you've had a successful online date, and let us know how your relationship is going. Right, guys, we're now going to talk about Wine O'Clock, right? As millions of people were expected to make the pledge to give up alcohol for this month, January. By now, those good intentions may be starting to wane, but it doesn't have to be a chore. Chris, could you do dry January? And do you think it's a bit of an insult to people with real addiction?
I could do it. I don't really drink that much. I enjoy a drink, and I certainly have been too many, but I'm more of a social drinker, and I've got 5 kids, so I don't get out that much anymore. So, and I rarely drink at home, so I could easily do dry.
You have wine when you're having a meeting?
In terms of it being, say again.
You have wine when you're having a meeting?
Not really.
I do. It is coffee this evening. I swear to God, it's coffee this evening. But I love a glass of wine. I want to.
In terms of it being an insult, I don't think it is. I don't think it's an insult to people with real addiction, because that could apply. Yeah, well, can you elaborate on that a bit? Because
I slightly disagree, Chris. I slightly disagree, because the thing is, I think it's not the January thing, and it's not the dry January thing. I'm not talking about that. But say I've watched a parent go through alcohol addiction. When I was younger. I'm really lucky enough that person has come out of it now. But if I put myself in that place, so I'm talking about the working environment. So if I'm struggling with an addiction of alcohol, and I'm in the office, and people are saying round to me, oh my goodness, it's getting so bloody hard now. I can't wait till February. As soon as it's February the 1st, I'm opening that bottle of wine, I'm opening that bottle of gin, I can't wait to do it. And I just think that we need to be more sensitive, because people are doing this for charity and for own reasons, maybe a liver break after Christmas or whatever. But actually, they're facing a month where you could have somebody where you're going, oh, 1st February, I can't bloody wait, where actually some people have to face this 12 months a year, not just a month off alcohol. And I'm not saying at all that it isn't a good thing, because it is for charity. What I'm saying is that I think we need to be more sensitive.
Yes, perhaps be more sensitive with it, but the thing as a whole, I don't see as an insult. I think, yeah, like you were saying, references to specific circumstances where people may be insensitive with it, but that's not the event being an insensitive. It can only be a positive thing, surely.
Well, how sensitive do you want to be? Because if we're not careful, we'll not be able to do anything.
Quite.
No.
You've got to be careful to go down this route of wrapping everybody in cotton wool. Whatever we say upsets somebody. I mean,
I'm always the Grinch on the panel, aren't I?
With Veganuary, because I love a bit of meat. I'm not going to give up meat because of Veganuary. So, they can do it if they say. But it ain't going to be. It's not going to be me.
He loves a bit of meat.
Do you love a bit of meat, Jason?
Love a bit of meat.
I've been doing Veganuary for 10 years.
Oh, no.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Are you vegetarian?
One of those.
Vegan.
Vegan.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I would struggle with vegan because I love cheese too much.
Oh, yeah, I love cheese, but I'm over it now.
I'm over it. Like a relationship. Thank God, I'm over it now. Really over it. Jason, do you think though, when we talk about alcohol, that we are surrounded by it? That every social event that we go to every meeting, it's always there, isn't it? It's always there as an option. And do you think we need to be reducing it a little bit? Do you think that we need to maybe make alcohol that little bit more expensive so people can't afford it because it's just there?
More expensive?
I think we need to do something in the supermarkets with it. Get people back into public houses. Get people back to socialising. It's so cheap in supermarkets. I mean, you go into somewhere like one of the German Brothers supermarkets, and you can pick them up for $3.99 a bottle.
That's where I go. That's where I go. What about you, Rachel? What are you like as a drinker?
Well, 2 sips and my hangover starts already. I'm not really. I did just in lockdown. I did discover pink gin because I've never drank because I've always felt drunk most of the day without having anything. But drunk on tea, I get. I think I infuse it too much. But the thought that it's insensitive to people. I think it's insensitive if you talk about it when there's somebody you know at the side of you that's struggling. That would be insensitive. That would be cruel. But the thing is, as Jason said, you can't wrap people in cotton wool. We all have to take responsibility for our own lives and our own actions, and all of us are going through something that would probably be a little bit peeved about if somebody was a little bit insensitive.
Some people need help to do that, though, Rachel.
Well, they do.
It's not as simple as black and white.
Of course, it isn't. I know this. I've had alcohol addiction in my family. I've got alcohol addiction in my family, not me, but there's mental health. There's so many things that I have to deal with various people that I know. So I am well aware that what I'm saying is it will probably strike a nerve with somebody that might be sound a little bit thoughtless, but I empathise with all of them. I know it's not easy, but I can't take responsibility on my shoulders for living my life the way I want. Because I've got my own problems as well. I don't throw them onto somebody else and expect them to treat me any differently around them. And I know if I had any problems, and I know the first person that would come and give me a good roasting, and that would be you, Nicholas James. But and so I've got a quite a hard turtle shell, around
I'll
you.
tell you something though. It was funny on Christmas Day because I was like, we both, Rachel, do you want a gin? Yeah, I'll have a gin. And I was like, we were both like, watching telly, and I went, oh, Rachel, it's been a really lovely day today, and it's been absolutely lovely. And so Rachel's like
that.
Pictures of me. I wasn't like that. I was like,
sleep on the sofa.
That cruel. That was cruel. That really was cruel. Now you've deleted them all.
I've got
But then
photos. I'll put them up.
You took all my shopping home with you as well. Because the
Yeah,
next
I
day you
did.
got COVID. I thought everything he's touched, he's
I'll
taken
tell you
home with him.
something,
I'm not
guys,
having it
never
in my
bloody
house.
got over that.
Big
I never
bag
got
of-
over it.
Gotta be careful though,
Big
haven't you?
bag of jellies. A big bag of jellies. I was so looking forward to those. And then when he got better, he says, Rachel, blah, blah, and he's stuffing them in his mouth on WhatsApp. Hope he was sick.
You've got to be careful, haven't you?
I've got to say, that brings us to the end of this week's show. It's been good to be back.
Before you finish, I was going to say, I saw on Facebook the other day a little picture caption. It was quite funny because it said, I'm failing miserably at dry January, but my downstairs is smashing it.
I'll have to read that back. I don't get it.
Oh, how to finish the show. How to finish the show.
What can you say to that?
I just want to finish on my good news. I'm currently a support worker. That's all I'm saying. Not saying which company I work for, but I went for an interview today and I've become senior support worker.
Woo!
So I've gone up in the world.
Hey!
I've gone up in the world. So I just wanted to share it. Thank you to all the lovely messages that I've got out there this evening off people.
For somebody who doesn't want to do much talking on this show very often now, you've done nothing but tonight. I'm exhausted.
I'll tell you something, Rachel. I've had 5 minutes with you and I'm done. I'm just done. Thank you for tuning in.
You're boring me now.
You tune in next week. We have a bit of a special surprise next week. A long lost panel member comes back to join us for series 4. Tune in to find out who it is that makes his comeback and return, but we're so excited to have him back on the show. Thank you for this evening. Make sure you have your say. Will you thank my panel? Joining me, Nicholas James, on the panel was the outspoken and the damn right rude Rachel Penny. The one that is a little bit inappropriate, that's Jason Lambert. And the person that desperately needs a haircut, that's Chris Clark.
I do. Next week, I'm getting one.
Yeah.
I promise.
Thank you for joining us. What?
I think he looks quite good with his hair.
Thank you. Thank you.
It does.
There's a
At
bit
least
of
he's got
romance
some.
going on now. I'm going to say good night. Take care. See you all next week. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.